Welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I am the host of Can Be Talk. I'm an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. Today, we are talking all about motivation, and I'm excited that I'm welcoming my guest for today. Her name is Latreia Sophia Maycock, and so I will pass the virtual mic to our guest so that she can introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm so happy to be back for a second time. Always a good time with you. I am a speaker, I'm an author, I'm also a wife. I am a local Bahamian and an entrepreneur. I specialize in marketing and helping businesses to boost their employee engagement, their customer service retention, and I'm very excited about marketing and all of those things that come with that sort of voice.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're happy to have you here. And so at this time, before we begin, I would just like to say for those who would have just joined us, like and share this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links on our page. We need your support to continue these talks. Also, if there's something you think we should be talking about, feel free to let us know. So with that, we'll start our session. So motivation, and I'm excited because this is a very interesting topic. So tell us what motivation means to you. Why are you so passionate about motivation, and why is being
Okay, continue, second question part.
and why is being and staying motivated important, especially during this time in which we exist, this time in which we're living.
Motivation, I think, is a feeling. It can be a mindset, but it can also be a way of going about doing things. And with that being said, no one is motivated all the time. I am certainly not. Most persons that you see that are successful or have become successful were not always motivated. What they were was consistent. What they were was persistent. And so I know that motivation is important because sometimes it's that first step that gets you to put the hammer in your hand and the nail in the other to start to build and cultivate your dreams, right? But it's not just being motivated. That's not going to be the thing that's going to assist you in accomplishing what it is that you want to do. So I think motivation is extremely important because without motivation, we wouldn't have vision. I feel as though motivation and vision walk hand in hand because you have a vision for what it is that you want to do. Motivation is the thing that gives you that gumption, that sense of urgency or importance to take the necessary steps to get there. Now, with the follow through, we're talking about persistence. We're talking about consistency through all kinds of odds, whether you feel like it or you don't. And I can testify to that because many times I don't want to continue on with the vision. I don't want to continue on with things that I've started. But when I remember why I started, I can continue to find new sources of motivation or revisit the original source of motivation, which is my purpose.
Thank you so much. So why at this time? Why is motivation so important at this time?
I think motivation will always be important. It's always been important. When we look back at when society was becoming more modernized and they were working in industrialization and starting to get, machinery and cars and things like that, seeing the need for change, right? Change is guaranteed. It's something that's consistent change. Seeing the need for things that need to change, whatever that may be for you, understanding that you need to be motivated to get that done. Without motivation or a sense of purpose, motivation is basically a sense of purpose for doing something. Without a sense of purpose, you won't continue doing anything that's of value to you. So for example, if you're a man and you want a business, right? The purpose of that business may be to you for financial freedom. It may be to dictate your own schedule. It may be to provide for your family. that is the purpose. And that purpose is the thing that motivates you, that will drive you well beyond motivation, which is the purpose of a thing, and the unction and the urgency at which you need to do it. That drives you into perseverance and determination, which helps you to carry through to the vision to the end. So I think motivation is something that's always going to be relevant because we always have things we want to do. You may want to go to a trip. That may be a goal for someone. You may want to build an empire. Definitely my goal, and I need lots of motivation for that. But it starts with just, self-actualization and understanding where you are and taking the necessary steps to get there. And you can't do that feeling down. You can't, it's so hard. Life is hard. And it's harder if you have a negative or downcast mindset. It's harder if you have low self-esteem. It's harder if you feel like you don't have support, including yourself. If you don't support yourself, you don't believe in yourself. And so persons who are motivated continue on. They keep finding reasons to continue on, like Jeff Bezos, for example. I saw a photo of him when he was in this dinky apartment complex doing his business, and he had borrowed money from his family to continue on with his vision. And that's very hard. But he believed in something, and despite of how it looked, despite of how shame he might have felt or how low he was, he continued on and he persisted. He found a reason to keep going, and so he kept going no matter the cost.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very important, that you mentioned. We don't always feel up to standard. We don't always feel like, oh, hey, we don't always feel motivated, as you would have mentioned, but at some point you find some time to really persist despite of how you feel. So I want to thank you for sharing that and even providing an example of someone who stayed motivated despite of how things would have looked for them. They maintain a certain level of motivation to achieve their goals or to get where they wanted to be. So I want to thank you for sharing that. And I just wanted to share, I was checking to see if there were any comments, but if there's anyone who is watching today, if this resonates with you, please comment under the video. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think. We certainly do want to hear from you. So with that, we'll get to our next question. How do we increase our level of motivation? What can we do to increase our level of motivation?
Well, back on the note of Jeff Bezos, I think about what if he did not continue? Our lives would be so much less convenient. I love Amazon. Who doesn't love Amazon? Okay, so his vision really added value to the world on such a global scale. And there are many Jeff Bezos, some watching us now, who must realize that they must do whatever it takes. Can you repeat your question?
How do we increase our level of motivation?
Right. You increase your level of motivation by surrounding yourself by what you want to see. So whether that's physically or in a philosophical way, you do that. And so, for example, if you want to be affluent in business, you need to surround yourself with information and resources that will take you there. Now, I agree that you don't need a college degree to be successful, which people love to say. But what they don't say is, even if you do not have a college education or a technical education, what you need are books. What you need are videos. What you need is a mentor. What you really need is information. And so I think that sometimes people are disillusioned as to what success really costs. It costs you everything. It costs you whatever it takes. Okay. And so you really need to surround yourself by people who share your vision or share your passion for the things that you want to do. You need to be very strong-minded about staying away from persons that tear down your vision. And it doesn't matter if they're family or friends. And so that's something that
Hold on, let's get into that. You hit home with some very important points. First, surround yourself. Surround yourself. That keeps you motivated. Surround yourself with the things that you need to see, right? In order to stay motivated. And then you mentioned distance yourself. And
yeah.
I think that's hard for some persons because we tend to think like, okay, this family, this blood, you gotta stick with family, but sometimes you have to distance yourself from whoever and whatever is going to hinder you from achieving what it is that you want to achieve. Okay, continue.
On the first point, you need to surround yourself with like-minded eagles. If you want to be with eagles, be around like-minded eagles. But if you continue to hang out with pigeons, then your mind is going to be at a pigeon level, and that's fine. Some people, pigeons are necessary for the ecosystem. It is what it is, right? But there are persons who have eagle mentality, okay? And they are also necessary to rise and be at a higher level, and you have to determine which one you are. Now, a baby eagle is the same thing as an adult eagle. So you have to determine the level of your faith in yourself and where you want to go, your vision and your dreams. You can try to keep, associating with pigeons, and I'm not saying that you must self-isolate completely, but you will act like a pigeon if you were surrounded by pigeons all the time, and you're the one eagle. You get what I'm saying? Now, with disassociating from friends and family, I don't have that problem. I'm committed to my goal. My commitment to the goal is paramount to anything else. That's my number one focus. And you have to get to that point where your purpose and your vision collide. I understand that my purpose is more important than people's feelings. I understand that my purpose is more important than person's perception of me. I understand that my purpose is more important than suffering that I may experience, because it's necessary for the next generation
Oh
and
my
it's
gosh, you
necessary
hitting, hold on
to
now.
the
You
world.
can't just drop them and run. You can't throw rocks and run. Let's hit that. Let's hit that. My purpose is more important than people's feelings.
It's more
My
important.
purpose. You can come on, let's dive into that. First, I want to get to the comments. Victor, love me some Amazon. Victor, you like things. You see, I love me some Amazon, trying to get this Amazon credit card right now. Come on, Victor, let's go. Let's go. Brittany, thank you so much for commenting. Definitely a much needed conversation. Information unlocks doors you need to get to the end results. Thank you, Brittany. Go Latreia. We definitely motivated each other at the University of the Bahamas. Thank you so much, guys, for your comments. We will be coming back to those comments, but I just want to get back to Latreia. You cannot drop those gems and run. So let's go back to them. My purpose is more important than how you feel. Let's go there. Let's go there.
If I believe that this is something that God has called me to do, and even for persons who are unsaved, you believe that this is something that you were born to do, you must realize that you not doing that is of massive consequence to society. When you think of persons like Albert Einstein and different inventors, their parents didn't know. Martin Luther King's, for example, his mother, she didn't know when he was born who he was. He had to grow. These persons had to grow and develop into the person that they were called to be. If they had been more concerned about people being like, oh, you're speaking too much, Martin Luther King, you're talking too much, you have too much opinions, our lives would be different. The trajectory of history would be so different. And I think of persons who, for whatever reasons, had to have aborted or chose to abort their children. We don't know who they would have been, because you don't know. And so in that same regard, sometimes we have a small vision to begin with, right? And as we continue to follow our path, we see more and more, and when you finally see and it's revealed to you who you really are, like, for example, back to Jeff Bezos, he saw what he can do. He saw what he could give to society. He saw that life was not satisfying without pursuing this thing. It consumed him. It consumed him, and he believed in himself enough that he didn't care if people worried about who he borrowed money from to pursue that dream. He didn't care that he was in a dinky little, apartment trying to get things done. He just got it done. I cannot be so concerned about how you feel about me, whereas it paralyzes me. Because sometimes people will tell you, that's not going to work out. They're trying to protect you in some cases from a broken feelings or broken dreams. And I've had encounters where, for example, when I first wanted to pursue some things, my parents told me that, that wasn't really lucrative. I wanted to be a chef at the time, and they were telling me that it wasn't lucrative. And I was like, no, man, this is something that I wanted to do. After a while, they supported me, purchased my KitchenAid, which any chef would know, like that is, 24 carats right there. And I still have it from I was in my teens. And I made thousands of dollars using that machine. When they saw that money rolling in, it was like their perspective about what I was doing changed. To this day, my mom just asked me, "You really stopped baking?" I said, "Well, mom, business was calling me." You know, my passion was beyond that thing. But I say that to say your vision for your life is so important. People don't always see you. They see you as little Tina down the street. They see you as Jakob, who we grew up with around the corner, and so they will see you at the level of their faith in you. But you have to understand that you pursuing God's plan for your life is more important than how people feel about you. Because at the end of the day, feelings don't pay bills. I'm sorry. Like, I can't cash that. I can't cash that, and what do you want me to do with that? I mean, you would like to live a life where everyone's happy with you. And I'm not saying being rude or be pompous, but I am saying that you have to understand that gut feeling inside telling you to pursue something, even with you in your talk show, you may not receive all the accolades right now that you want. You may not receive all the views that you want right now, but you feel an unction to push. You feel an unction to pursue. Some of our viewers watching, you have a business that you're working on and it's failing, but you feel an unction to pursue. That's something that you need to follow, because sometimes one thing leads to the next. A lot of times one thing leads to the next.
Well, one thing I can say is Latreia started out saying she was tired, but she on here preaching and pushing and preaching the power. So I just want to thank you, for sharing those messages, because you're just letting us know what it is. And that's very important. You mentioned something that's very important. You said that, sometimes we share with persons and they kind of, discourage us from moving into an area where we probably would have wanted to move into. But sometimes we kind of break our own hearts when we do that, because sometimes the vision that we have is not for us to share. The gift that we carry and the vision that we have is not for you to tell everybody. Sometimes you need to just keep that, own that, and just do what you need to do and move in secret. Not everything is for you to share and reveal to everybody. Sometimes that's just for you to just move and do what you have to do. So sometimes you can't tell everybody, hey, this is my plan, this is my business, this is what I want to do, because not everybody is going to support you. So sometimes you just have to move smartly. So I just want to thank you for sharing that. You're not always going to get the support that you want, but if this is something, and that's something that you mentioned, you may not always have the support that you want or the support that you feel that you should have, but the key in getting anywhere or accomplishing the things that you may want to accomplish is to remain persistent. So I want to thank you for sharing that again.
Can I also say something on that note? I listened to Steve Harvey one time, and he was talking about how the wealthier he became, the more people wanted to give him things. And I don't know if you know, but Steve Harvey was homeless. And he was like, it's so funny, when I didn't have anything and I was in such great need, being homeless and just going through life, he couldn't find anyone to help him. But as soon as he had made it, quote unquote, he was given so much that he didn't even need people offering him free food and offering him free stays. And he was like, it's so crazy because when I needed somewhere to stay, when I needed food, it wasn't there. And so I just want to encourage our viewers, you and myself, that it's coming. It's coming. However, life is just so funny. You know, they say when it rains, it pours. You just have to go through your dry season and get to the other side.
Okay, so Latreia, she wasn't really tired today because she preaching the power today. So I want to thank you for sharing that. Brittany, yes, definitely. You say and you do and say later. Thank you, Brittany. Definitely. Victor, feelings, thoughts, and opinions don't pay Scotia. Exactly. That don't pay the bank. So feelings and thoughts and opinions don't pay the bank. So you definitely on it. So I just want to get to Principles of a Go-Getter. That's your book. Congratulations. You did it. You did it. So can you tell us a little bit about your book?
I'm just gonna, I feel so grateful to be able, this is a paperback and a hardcover, but when I first held my book, it just felt so amazing to know that I was published, right? We read books all the time. It's like, for example, if you were into IT and you created your first cell phone and you are so accustomed to holding other person's products, and then you finally held your own, and it just was a really great experience. But I've been working on this for a long time, and what I hoped and I hope that persons receive from it is a warm feeling, motivation, and clarity. Because there are so many things that I thought that I would do even sooner, right? That I wasn't able to do, but it took a lot of understanding about what life is, trials and tribulations, and how to stay motivated when things weren't happening the way that I wanted it to go. So for example, in it we talk about having vision, having a vision for your life, and why that's so important.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, I'm proud of you for being, like you said, we talk about these things, you talk about motivation, but you actually, went out and did it and put your book together. And so just to have the feeling of actually holding your book in your hand to be a young Bahamian author, hey, I'm proud of you, girl. Proud of you.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations. Principles of a Go-Getter. And so can you give us one principle of a go-getter?
Sure.
Oh, Victor is asking if your book is on Amazon.
Yes, it is, boo-boo.
Victor, go get the book, please. It's on Amazon.
Okay, so chapter 5, one of my favorite chapters, is preparation is the bridge between thinking and doing. And it's talking about how each of us has a different purpose for our lives, and how there are certain attributes of a go-getter that you need that assist you in getting your desired outcome. So for example, I would read a lot of books, read books by Donald Trump, and different authors. And I found that when I read those books, they would hype me up and get me motivated, but they wouldn't give me instructions, like basic instructions on how do I do that? How does one stop procrastinating? How does one keep going after setbacks? How should I view setbacks? And so in this chapter 5, preparation is the bridge between thinking and doing. The principle is manage well. As a go-getter, one of your core principles is being a good manager of self, managing your relationships, and managing your resources, right? So for example, one is be on time. Late, late, late. Some persons are always late, but sometimes in life you have divine appointments. You have divine appointments that may be on the bus, that may be at Starbucks, that may be on the job. But if you're late, you will miss your divine appointment. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be on time all the time, because no one can, but at least have the courtesy to call and show interest in what you're doing. Because you should be managing your time and also showing respect for other persons, right? In this chapter, we talk about how we all have different starting points. So, for example, I thought life was fair growing up, right? And I realized quickly that we all have different starting points. Someone may have a different advantage of you. They may have been able to go off to school. Someone may have had a sponsor. You know, what I learned was that in having different starting grounds, we have to find different ways, unique ways to navigate where we are to get where we want to go. Give me 1 second, please.
Thank you. Sure. So I want to thank you for sharing that. She just needs to get a minute to catch herself, but I want to thank you for sharing that. That's so very important. Firstly, Latreia said a principle is to be on time. So I know that may mash a few cons sometimes, when you're not on time, you can miss divine appointments, as she would have mentioned. So it's very important sometimes to be on time. And if you can't make it on time, you call and you say, hey, I'm not going to be on time. I'm going to be late. So it's important to be on time. Then she also you talk about being on time. And then your other principle, I'm going to let you jump back in.
Okay. So on the same principle, we're talking about how God gives us stewardship. He asks us to be stewards over gifts, right? And so you may not have as many talents as I do, but you have talent. So for example, I can cook, I can sing, I can write, I'm good at marketing, right? But I am not a gardener, okay? But these are my gifts. And with my gifts, I choose to lead worship, encourage others, write, to assist others in their journey as well. The better a steward I am with these gifts, the more God blesses me. My life has been evident of that. But if you're not a good steward over your $200 job that's paying you $200, you're not going to get the 22K. You get what I'm saying? Your work ethic has more to do about your character than it does with your value. You know what I mean? And so your mentality and how you perceive yourself is so important with how you manage. If I'm sweeping the floor, I'm going to sweep the floor as though I am it, because I am it. I'm God's kid. You know what I mean? But if even when I have a higher paying job or another opportunity, I still carry myself at that same level because I am a personal brand.
And I'm gonna get you right there. And like I said, you said you was tired, but you came here to preach today, and I don't want to get. Victor asked if he said you're good at all those stuff. He says, "Are you good at all those stuff?" He says, "Are you a Gemini?" In Bahamian dialect, he says he's a Gemini.
I'm born in September, but I do not follow horoscopes, and I will not associate myself.
Okay, Victor, she says, don't go there. So what day in September?
September 3rd.
Oh my gosh, I'm on the 8th, so we in family, girl.
Okay.
We family, girl. You see, you know how we go. Okay, Victor, she said don't go there. She don't subscribe to the zodiac.
Yeah. Well, what did he say? don't repeat it on air. Catch yourself.
I'm gonna go back to that. But
okay.
I just want to mention what you said. It's so very, very important in terms of being a good steward over the gifts that we do have. And it's so important that even what you do have, you be the best at it. It doesn't matter what type of job it is. If you show that you have a strong work ethic and you're willing to be good at whatever job it is that you're required to do, that leads somewhere. And so I want to thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to get biblical. And I know sometimes, I don't want to mash any corns, but I just want to get into the what you said. You said sometimes if we're not good with the little that we have, how can we expect to be rewarded with more? And that goes into the biblical part with the principle of
The
the
parable of
10
the
lepers and what Jesus when he gave them talents. Sorry, the parable of the talents.
stewards. Mm-hmm.
Right. So he gave some 10, he gave some, different amounts, and some came back. They came back with the talents, and so, you know what? I'm getting confused with this parable. So
No, I can continue with you. The
But
one
you
who
continue.
gave the one basically came back and said, "What I could do with this?" And Bahamian Jones, he's like, "What I could do with this? I can't work with this." And so the Lord came back and got angry and said, "You wicked servant." He'd rather just give him back instead of seeing the owner succeed. And so when we talk about stewardship, we should not only be talking about money and physical resources like things.
But you forget the other part of it. The other part is to the ones who had less, he took away from them, and he gave to the ones who came back and brought more, and gave the ones who had more than what they had. And so that's I just want to say that's true in what you said.
But it's not only things, it's also relationships. How do you treat people? Okay. You're, for example, persons who seeking to marry, are you a good steward, one, over your body, and two, are you a good steward over the persons that you're dating? And I understand that, and you must understand as well that as you're dating, your goal should be your development as well, because the first person you date is very unlikely to be your spouse, right? But they are a part of your process and God's process for you. So one of the things I say, and I mentioned in my book, you must also manage who is in your bed. You must manage your bed. Yes. If your goal, for example, is marriage, you must manage who you see and how you conduct yourself in that environment. And that's not to judge, that's just the fact. Okay?
Okay. All right. So when you say manage your bed, what do you mean manage your bed?
Give me 1 second. Managing your bed means that you are in control of who you sleep with. Now, that could be a term for business, like doing business with someone. Okay, you manage who you conduct your business with. You put it before God, like, God, is this someone that you would want me to conduct my business with? Is this someone that you want me to be a partner with? Okay, because it's a form of intimacy in that type of relationship. Now, in romantic relationships, is also a form of business, right? Because marriage is a contract, for example. Some persons are seeking to end that contract, and there are certain things that you need to do and not do to be able to attain that goal. So managing your bed means, put plain and simple, don't be sleeping around. Don't be sleeping around, and you need to manage your expectations, because if you're saying that as a gentleman, you want a virtuous wife, right? Then you must conduct yourself as someone of value. A lot of persons make it seem like only women have something to offer, right? And men are such an important part of society, right? And so if you deem yourself as a man of character, the way that you spend your time is the same thing as managing your bed. Okay? You follow me?
You getting I get a little scared now. You're going in deep. But I mean, I definitely get your point. It's like you said, you learn how to manage. It's all about managing yourself, so I definitely get where you're coming from.
Managing your bed is not explicitly and only related to, for example, sex, as persons would think.
Yeah.
It is a metaphor for intimacy, but definitely you should see
you
your
allowing
body.
your space. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like it's necessary to be frank these days.
To be
Frank.
Yeah,
Frank.
definitely. Yeah, you have to be. And as you would have mentioned, which is very important, it's very important of who you establish intimate relationships with. So I definitely get what you're saying in terms of managing that space, because not everybody deserves to have that type of access to you.
Right.
And that in and of itself can impact your level of motivation when you have certain persons around you who should not be around you, because not everybody deserves to be around you, in that they're not able to carry you in the way that they need to carry you, and what you need to keep you, keep you going. I don't want to drift too far, but
I agree with you with access.
Yeah.
It's about access. Not everyone should have intimate access to you. And I think that understanding that different relationships require different things of you, like a mentorship. You're giving away your time, you're giving that away for free.
Definitely.
But as it relates to your core development and you finding persons that are like iron for you to be surrounded by,
iron sharpens iron, definitely.
You need to be concerned about the quality of the person,
not the
quantity
quantity
around you.
yes.
The quality, yes,
the quality of persons. That's very important, and I think that that's something that we should think about. It's not about how many friends you have, but what about the quality? Are they adding value to your life? What are they bringing? Are they motivating you to accomplish what you need to accomplish? Are they helping you to get where you want to go? Are they headed in the same direction as you? And as you would have mentioned, you don't want to be with the pigeons, you want to soar with the eagles. And so that's important that you mentioned those things. And so I want to get to the benefits of motivation and staying motivated. What do you think are the benefits of being motivated? You're a published author now, and so you're moving in the direction of motivation. You're a motivator. So how do we? And we September born, so we both born in September. Are we motivators? That's interesting. But I don't want to drift into the zodiac, because we don't want to go into that. We don't want to go into that, Victor. Okay, so what are the benefits of being motivated?
The end product. The end product. Whatever device you are looking on right now is the end product of someone's vision. It's the end product of someone's motivation. Whatever clothes that you and our viewers are wearing was the end product of someone's mental design. And so that's very powerful. The earrings that I'm wearing, somebody said this is how this is going to be in the future. There was that took faith to get there. And so motivation is crucial. Persons possibly thought that Walt Disney was crazy, insane, talking about he's gonna have a magical world with a bunch of characters walking
and the
around,
Mickey Mouse and the little mouse and the cats and the dogs. Yeah.
People probably thought he was crazy. You can imagine his cousins like, boy, Walt's really losing it, boy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he had to hold on to that vision, and your mental reality is more important, dare I say, than your physical reality. Because when God created the world, he did it with his mind. He started in his mind, and then he said it, and it became. And that's how life is. If you think about everyone who's listening, think about the last thing or one of the things that you wanted to do. It started in your mind. And if you hadn't held on to that thought, it would have never come to pass. So motivation is critical, because you may very well be that billionaire. You may very well be whatever it is that you want to be. You may very well accomplish that. So what would happen if you didn't give up and you became that person? If you pursued that person, you may become it.
Definitely. Thank you. We have to speak those things. We have to first envision those things in our mind and then speak those things into existence. So just get into the comments. Brittany says she loves, that's her favorite place, Disney. So you hit a nerve with Brittany. Oh, Brittany, you love Disney World. Awesome. Valencia is saying, the wrong partner can destroy a person. Valencia, you're absolutely correct. Just the wrong person to just destroy your life.
Totally pivot your life in a totally different direction.
In a totally different direction. So I'm so happy to have these persons joining us today. And it's absolutely correct. You see those things, you envision those things, you speak those things, and you put yourself in position, and then you also surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And then you also mentioned that the benefit of motivation is coming to the end product, coming to the end of the road, and seeing your vision come to reality. And that is the benefit of motivation. And so we've come to our fast talk segment as we wind down and come to the end. I want us to get to our fast talk segment. So you have about 60 seconds to answer each of these questions. And
Okay.
so here we go. You got this. Here we go. Does being a motivated individual make you successful?
It helps, but it's not a guarantee. It's consistency and persistence that can guarantee success, because success is predictable.
What should we be doing to motivate ourselves?
Renewing our mind. You must consistently renew your mind with new information to flush out old thoughts, flush out bad habits, and to give you fresh ideas and insight to help you with your goals.
How do you stay motivated? And how do you motivate? What do you do, to stay motivated? And how do you motivate others?
I don't stay motivated. I stay consistent.
How do you motivate others?
I motivate others through my authenticity and being myself. Being myself. If I tried to be someone else or tried to exude something else, I am preventing someone by being blessed by my presence. I am preventing someone from being blessed by my ness, the stuff that makes me me. I've learned that blesses someone by just being yourself and what you bring to the table. Because if God wanted me to be like someone else, he would have made me a clone. He didn't make me a clone. He made me original. So there was something in me that someone else needed. And I'm not gonna deprive the world, dare I say, of my authenticity. There's so much fake things in the world right now. People just need to feel loved and feel someone real, like someone to be real with them. And I think that there's value in that.
Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned that your authenticity is what you bring to the table, is what you bring to the world, and you bring your own uniqueness. And the good thing about it is you don't intend on being anyone else. It is what you bring that adds value.
And everyone has that. Everyone viewing has that to offer everyone else.
So what happens when we take our eyes off of what we should be bringing and what we should be doing, and focus on other people and try to intimidate what they do? Imitate what they do.
You do what many Bahamians do. You open your 99-cent shop, and I open my 99-cent shop too.
You did not go there.
You did not
do that just now. You did not touch that. Let's go there. Let's go. You see, I told you stop throwing stones and running. Let's go there. Go ahead.
We live in a time, and it's not new, where persons are not satisfied with their nest. They're not satisfied with who they are. And I think that if we looked in the mirror and we appreciated what we see a bit more, we would see value in ourselves. Even if other persons don't see it yet, I think that that's very important. It's very important to have a good, positive self-esteem about you and your development, even if you're not there yet. I remember when there were times, and I thought about this the other day, where the place that I was working, I had the best car. And I am at a place now where I'm working somewhere and I don't have the best car. And God reminded me, and I was like, ouch, that hurts. Like, because seasons change. But is that going to dictate your value, whether you're here today and there tomorrow? Anything could happen. You know what I mean? I have faith that I'm going to keep hitting those levels, and I'm going to continue and up my stride, and I'm going to continue to be that person and get to where I want to be. But that I'm not going to allow where someone else is to make me feel inferior, because that has nothing to do with my quality. That has nothing to do with my quality. So I think that having a good understanding of yourself, and also a lot of persons, what you see isn't always what you get. And you got to be careful. You have to guard your heart about jealousy, even if it's innocent, even if it's small. You don't know how people get things. Okay. And I think it's important in a thingsy society that you hold your head and you just have an attitude of gratitude, and you continue to focus on yourself. Watch the road. Do what you got to do.
Latreia, I thought you started. Latreia say, watch the road. Listen, that is so very important, because I mean, you mentioned, that's important that you mentioned. You focus on what it is that you need to focus on, because if I take my eyes off what I'm doing and I'm looking at you, that's not going to serve me. That's not going to benefit me.
I could just
My
hurt my
path
feelings.
is not your path. I'm sorry.
It'll just hurt your feelings. Sometimes watching other people is just gonna hurt
Yes,
your
it
feelings, but
does.
you need to focus on what you're doing, because you could get it too. If they could get it and they're in your proximity, my mindset is, if I'm in the proximity of someone who's at that level, that's attainable to me.
That's right. I'm next in line.
Mhm.
I'm next in line. We're in the same proximity. We're in the neighborhood. So chances are, that package is also going to land at my doorstep. But we don't often think like that. I think sometimes in our community, we feel as though, I should be, if somebody else, it's only enough for me. It's not enough for someone else. And I wish that we can, move past that level of thinking in our community. I really wish we can. But you mentioned something that's very important as well. You went from one place where you had a nice ride, you moved somewhere else and it was something different, but you still maintain, your level of motivation. And then that's very important. And I want to thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing that. You talk about that 99-cent breakfast mentality that we also have. Everyone want to open up. When it first started, you saw one or two around the corner, and then all of a sudden, everyone started popping up with these stands. And it really is a sad mentality that we have. And I hope that we can move past that
Can
level of thinking. Go
I
ahead.
touch on that further with the 99-cent breakfast? So, for example, we have persons that would open up a 99-cent store. That's their vision. And you have someone else who comes and copies that. Now, you're frustrated because you see them being successful, and so you decide to jump in. There's something in business where persons have to stay open to try and cut their loss. So, for example, they're staying in a business now, the copier, they're staying in a business now that they're not good at, because you can cook, they unable to manage, but they're forced to stay in this business because they already invested so much in this trailer or the shop space that they opened, right? And so it gives them so much loss. They encounter so much loss, and they're forced to stay open to try and pay debts on something that they wasn't supposed to be in the first place. And so in real life, when we go and mimic others, it costs us more in the long run, because one, we're delaying our development. Whether or not you decide to learn this lesson at the first go or the 20th go, you still gonna have to learn this lesson, and that's just how life is. So it's cheaper for you that you learn it the first, second time, rather than you having to keep back your toe, because life will continue to present you with the same obstacle until you overcome it. And that's something that I learned. Secondly, don't mind these people.
Thank you. You were gonna mention the second point?
No, that was it. Don't mind these people.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna jump back to our comment, and then we're going to wrap up this session, as we have come to the end of our session. But I just want to ask you if you have any additional comments you would like to add before we. Tony is saying having a sense of gratitude is so important for where you are at the moment, because you won't be there forever. So thank you, Tony, for sharing that. Is there any additional comments you would like to add before we close our session?
I would just like to encourage everyone to continue on with your vision. There's some persons on here who really know what it is they want to do, and it can be so discouraging. We are listed as one of the most expensive countries in the world, and yet our wages don't reflect that. Okay, and the average Bahamian, it doesn't reflect that. So it could be so discouraging as a young person, especially trying to come up. But I would encourage every person listening to continue to do what they need to do and acquire the materials that they need to keep themselves motivated and to prevent them from making mistakes. I definitely would encourage every person to purchase my book for themselves or for someone else who they feel that it would empower, that it would help to direct, and give a fresh perspective on maybe something that they feel stuck. They feel stuck at a part in their life.
Okay, so Victor from Amazon, please go on Amazon and purchase Principles of a Go-Getter by Latreia Maycock. She is a young Bahamian author and motivator, and she is doing what is in her heart, what she believes she is being purposed to do. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for those comments. And so we've come to the end of our session. Thank you for listening to our talk. I would like to thank our viewers for joining us in this conversation today, in this talk today. I would like to thank our lovely guest, Latreia Sophia Maycock. Hi, Sophia. Latreia, you're a friend. You're our friend. You're welcome anytime. The author of Principles of a Go-Getter. And I would like to thank our viewers again. You can comment under our videos, continue commenting on our videos. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know your thoughts. We definitely want to hear from you. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Can We Talk? Follow us on Instagram and Twitter using the addresses provided on our page. And I say, smile. Your haters are watching. Smile, just because they're watching. And remember, let's think, talk, and do. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Bye.